To see examples of what we talked about on this episode, along with further information, go to bunchofdorks.com.
Welcome everyone to
Two Dimension Podcast,
the comic book podcast
With No Direction. Two-dimension. Two-dimension. What's up, everybody? You know that song, you know this voice. It's me, Rook. Joining me as always is the man that keeps it together, Mr. Don Moore.
Hello, everybody.
And he's back, and it didn't take 4 years like we talked about. Welcome back, Mr. Ed Cannell.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here again. The first top podcast I've ever been on twice. For the record.
All right. And you're finished to the podcast.
Man. Yeah, it was funny because I went back and listened to the old episode, and I was like, I remember us joking about, yeah, we'll see you again in 4 years. So, didn't take 4 years.
I would love to still be doing this in 4 years, but we'll see. But I'm glad to be back now, and I've had some fun. I've done I've done a lot of stuff since we last talked with comic books and games. I think we talked about video games being a subject of conversation.
Yep.
This one. We had Deadpool VR come out in was that January or December? It's been a blur. But the game I worked on, Deadpool VR, came out and did pretty well. And then Meta, formerly known as Facebook, shut down all their VR studios and laid everybody off. So
yeah, I saw that.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, well, I was a contractor, so it wasn't, I had already been finished. So I really felt for the people I was working for Twisted Pixel Games, excuse me. The developer was behind Deadpool VR, so it was a big bummer. The company was almost at their 20-year anniversary. March would have been 20 years for them, and then they got shut down.
That sucks.
As did Senzaru Games. I worked for them a little bit on. I did a little bit of writing for Asgard's Wrath 2, just to kind of some supplemental stuff to help them out. But it was a bummer to see those guys also shut down and other developers, But we shipped the game. Deadpool VR was a cool game for them to go out on.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Fun.
That was all over the place for a while on my feed. Everywhere.
Yeah. It seemed that, the Metacritic score was almost 80, I believe, last time I looked. And the reviews were pretty positive overall, and positive overall for the writing. So that was gratifying. That was really gratifying. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned it before we started recording that I was in Las Vegas. So I was in Las Vegas specifically to sort of celebrate. And one of the founders and chief creative officer of Twisted Pixel Games, Josh Baer, had several of us come out to Vegas as his guest. And that included Joe Kelly, who's currently working on Amazing Spider-Man, and of course had a long run in the early days of Deadpool to really help establish the character. So that was really cool. And then the other writers on the Deadpool VR game, which was Matt Enton and Dan. I forgot his last name. I'm really sorry. I'll look it up before we're done. But the four of us writers on Deadpool. And so we all, we just kind of celebrated and got to know each other some more, and it was a lot of fun. But it was really cool to meet Joe Kelly. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
A lot of his comics.
yeah, super nice guy. And it was funny. He's very tall, and so he stands out. So I don't know if you've been to Vegas, when you're walking around the strip to get somewhere, there's all these women. Like if you're a dude, there's all these women that will approach you and they want their photo taken with them.
Oh,
and they have costumes. They're like in all these sort of revealing costumes, and they're like want to trap you and make you take a picture and give them a lot of money. And it can be fun if you're down for that. But normally you sort of like run. So I would just walk behind Joe because he's so tall and he shaves his head. He's like looks like a lighthouse. He's like a human lighthouse, like right. And so all these photo bombers would just glom onto him, and then I would quickly run
Just move around the whole.
yeah, just run the end route around him, and he was a very nice guy, and told me he's working on Amazing Spider-Man. I actually didn't know that. I gotta check it out now. But it was
Nice.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That had to be a lot of fun to get a chance to hang out with somebody like that. I mean,
It was cool. We didn't talk comic books too much. We were busy just running around, but which it just struck me is that he was just a really nice, genuine guy, funny guy, fun to hang out with, and um, I wish we'd talk more about comics and writing and stuff like that, but we were too busy running away from scantily clad women, I guess.
yeah, I've been to Vegas. But
Yeah,
when you first started talking about it, I'm like, all the people trying to hand you stuff.
yes,
That was the part that was what killed me in Vegas.
yeah. I was like, at what point are they going to be? I really thought they'd be done trying to hand out nudie cards, but they're not. It's still a thing. Everyone's trying to hand you. He's,
Oh,
it's just it's still a thing. And it's still sad. It still
yeah.
make you sad.
So you mentioned you're working on some new comic stuff too. What's going on there?
We're getting there. We're working on, Matt Inton and I, my co-writer on Invasion from Planet Wrestletopia. We are working on, we were fairly settled on starting our next series, which would be Bicentennial Kill. And then, we started thinking about we're pursuing this other idea we had, was called Harbingers. And what it is that it's sort of it's really a comedy horror, but it's like a horror told from the point of view of the harbinger whose like job is to try to warn people from going like to the camp or to the lake or to you know what I mean, like in a lot of, it's kind of a horror movie trope where a car full of teenagers stops for gas and like some crazy old man says don't go,
Yep.
don't go to the lake, and it's written from the point of view of one of those guys. And we're still kind of trying to break the story, but we've been having fun with it and making some progress. And then the other piece of it was trying to sell enough books of Wrestletopia in order to pay for a new one, right?
Right.
And we made some progress there as well since we last talked. I think I talked about how it was pretty slow going overall, like on the internet. But I've made some progress with in-person events. So I think since we last talked, I've done several mini comic book conventions where I'm tabling and I'm showing people the book and I'm giving them sort of this elevator pitch, which is disgruntled pro wrestler declares himself galactic champion of the universe on live television. Signal goes into outer space. The planet of Wrestletopia is not amused. Hence the title Invasion from Planet Wrestletopia, something like that, right? And I found that when I'm in front of people, it goes pretty well. Like at the comic book mini conventions, I think it's a little tough because people show up at these and they're like, they're looking for like Howard the Duck issue number 42, and that's that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
But enough people will kind of come, you'll hear me out, and I'll sell, the comic book mini cons, maybe I won't sell a ton. I might if I sold like 6 sometimes, I'm like, okay, I sold 6. But um, I did do one in Eugene where I sold 20 something books.
Oh, well.
And
Nice.
Eugene, Oregon. It was put on by Books with Pictures, their Eugene location. There's a comic book store that in Portland and Eugene. And then what I found out, which is interesting, is I went to a wrestling event. So there's like a small indie promotion. And I went to Vancouver, Washington, and I sat there next to the grappler and Roddy Piper's granddaughter. No, daughter, excuse me, youngest daughter.
Hmm.
And I sold quite a lot of books to wrestling fans. Like wrestling fans were like, "Oh, hey, hell yeah!" And I'm starting to figure out that that just even though you absolutely don't have to be a wrestling fan, I think, to enjoy this book. We talked about that. I think like the wrestling fans just have a more, I don't know, immediate reaction of like, yeah, yeah, I want to buy that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Well,
and
sometimes it's the
yeah,
audience. You know,
what's that?
I was gonna say sometimes it's the audience.
Mhm.
I was listening to it's like John Workman. He was art director at Heavy Metal Magazine. You know, in the
Oh, cool.
'70s, and he said one month it just spiked. I mean, it like went up 3 times higher than normal. And then when everything started coming in, they realized what it was. It was a Edgar Rice Burroughs special, and
Oh,
all the Edgar Rice Burroughs came out and bought it. Sometimes
okay.
it's where you're, like I said, Wrestletopia. It's a book about wrestling. You're at a place
Yeah.
of wrestling. Of course, it's going to do well. I mean,
And it's funny too, like there's a comic book store called it's called Omega Frog in Salem, Oregon. And that guy, he bought a couple books for me at the wholesale price, and he was a cool guy. And then I saw him at a mini con, and he was like, I sold them all. He's like, I'll take 8 more. First time that's happened to us. And then another comic book store called Wicked Comics and Collectibles. This is Albany, Oregon, not terribly far from Salem. The guy was selling some on consignment, and he's like, I sold them all. I'll pay you when, next time you breeze through town. And so I'm thinking like the Salem, Albany area, maybe we're a big hit. Just
right.
maybe that's our bread and butter is the Salem, Albany greater area.
Well,
And
also
not it's not as much Portland, but
what
but
you're
still,
doing, what you're doing is kind of important when you're going and meeting people and selling it.
yeah,
Part of it is like, well, the guy that created this came in here, and he's probably prominently putting it out. Will Eisner, when he started, what was it, The Contract to God, his first big one,
yeah,
it sold really well when it first came out. And then it kind of disappeared. And he started going to shops, bookstores, saying, "Now, how's it doing?" Well, it sold really well when we first got it. But after it was a new release,
yeah,
he said they didn't know what to do with it. And he said, "Where is it?" And so we put it in humor, because when I was growing up, anything sequential stories was always put in the humor section, regardless of what it was.
interesting.
And he said people were coming and saying, "This isn't funny." So they put it, I don't know, they put it in another section, but it didn't make any sense.
Okay,
And they said, "Where do you have it now?" And they had it in a cardboard box in the basement, you know.
right.
But I just went to a Barnes and Noble the other day, and I was surprised when I went through there that they had Persepolis in the history section, because it was about the Iranian Revolution, the hostage crisis and all that.
Yeah,
And there was what was that other book? Moz. Moz is in history as well, but in different
okay.
subjects. They're with all the regular books. And
Interesting.
that's what I mean. It's the audience
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
that. Wrestletopia. I don't follow wrestling. I mean, I've seen it. I know of it. I really enjoyed the book. And then knowing you're coming on, I pulled the book out again and read it.
oh, cool.
It's still, some comics still has the same electricity from the first time you read it to say it's good for multiple reads.
Oh, good.
Um,
And
but the thing,
Wrestletopia is one of those fun reads too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
extremely fun read.
oh, thank you.
And it's over the top where it needs to be. It's not over the top, in other spots. It's a really good book. Saying that, I don't follow wrestling, but if I would have
Yeah,
seen it, it would have piqued my interest, at a shop.
if it were in the wrestling section of Barnes and Nobles, you might not have seen.
Well, I might not have been there,
No, but
but
I can tell you from like going to like indie wrestling events and stuff like that. Wrestling fans have a great sense of humor, and
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but
they are more than willing to poke fun of themselves
yeah,
and the wrestlers. And I think that's what this book is appealing to for everybody.
yeah.
So yeah,
And,
definitely can understand why a wrestling event was good for you. Absolutely.
and the other is sort of in person, con I've had that has done pretty well is since we last, I think, since we last talked, I I believe it's just since we last talked. It's been a while. I took kind of a road trip all throughout, from Portland to like Olympia, Tacoma, um, uh, all over Seattle and their suburbs there, and brought the book around to comic book shops. And same thing when I talk to the owner or whomever, and I give them sort of the high level, pitch or whatever. I had a lot of success with people putting it on their shelf. Sometimes, a lot of times, they would pay me like a wholesale price, and some of them were wanting to do it on consignment, which was fine with me. I just wanted it, on a shelf, And when all is said and done, including the stores in Portland and a few other random places, like I flew to Green Bay, Wisconsin for a football game to see the Packers, and I went to the one and only comic book store in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which if you're out there and you're listening to this, it's Powers Comics on Ridge Road in Green Bay. It's like the only comic store. Anyway, but they're all on our website, and it's about 30. It's over 30 comic book stores that put it on their shelf.
Nice.
And yeah, I think it was a combination of like it was local or mostly local, and it's an indie thing. But then they would look at the quality of like the art, like to make sure that it's and the quality of the printing, and they would be like, yeah, and then telling them the high concept. And not every store said yes, but we are in over 30 comic book stores in the country, and so then I sent emails. I sent emails to the ones who took it on consignment, and I'm like, how's it going? You want to send us any money? And you just hear nothing. and, and then I need another email to the stores that paid me, and I said, hey, how's it going? You sell your copies? You want more? And you just hear nothing. I mean, these people are very busy. They have a million
Yeah.
products to have to stay on top of, and just different distributors for all kinds of stuff. And it's just, um, but like I said, I have, those two stores I talked about earlier did reach out and tell me they sold their copies, which was cool. And I've had, again, success when I'm face to face with people. It's gone pretty well. It's been pretty cool, and we're selling some books, and we're saving our money, and I think even now we probably have enough to make like 8 pages or so of our newest thing, which could be enough to show to publishers, and publishers aren't going to give you money, but if you find a publisher that's willing to sort of distribute it, that could be a big deal. That's be a big help. So progress has been made. It has been a bit of a grind since we last spoke. It has not. I still have many copies in my garage. Many copies.
That's what it takes, though. Well, go ahead, Rook.
Yeah. No, I was just saying. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm agreeing. It does that is what it takes. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's being in the indie comics. I mean, it's brutality sometimes. I've watched comics that had 4 or 5 issues on Kickstarter, and they get to that next issue and they don't fund for some reason.
Yeah.
Or I've watched beautiful high concept stuff on Kickstarter not fund on their first one. So for you to be able to go out there with product in hand, with the book available to show to people, I think that's a big feather in your cap as well. Not to mention just being visible like that.
Yeah.
We have a
Yeah.
friend of the show, Ryan Clater, who literally made a comic book signing tour of his book when he moved from one state to another.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
you take the opportunities you got.
Yeah.
You're definitely doing it.
My little tour of Seattle, Tacoma, etc., was fun. I had some like hotel rewards points, so I could stay for free at like a Holiday Inn in Tacoma. saw a baseball game. I saw a Mariners game with my nephew who's up there. So put a lot of miles on my car, but it was also really fun to see all these different comic book stores, go in
Yeah.
there, talk to some of the owners. I mean, I kind of learned a lot. And I feel like now I've seen, comic book stores come in many different flavors, and I feel like I've seen a lot of them. Um, it was really fun and interesting. It was a bit of a grind, but it was cool. It really was cool to. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, what if I just hop on I-5 and go south and go through like California, and I'll just go all the way down to Sandy. And my wife's like, no.
It's a long drive.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a long drive.
Like Portland to LA is I think I took a Greyhound there once. I think it was like 18 hours on a Greyhound. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I drove that way, and it's a long, long, long drive. Some drives just seem longer than others, and that's one of them. It was pretty, but yeah, things you're talking about. When I said you're doing what it takes. When you mentioned the convention, I was the guy looking for Howard the Duck 27.
Yeah,
Now, a
yeah.
friend of mine I went to college with, I went to a convention with him, well, several conventions with him, and he's the complete opposite. He
Okay.
goes and talks to the creators. When he sees them, if he doesn't know them, I'm the guy that just looks at them, doesn't say anything. I'll be digging in
Yeah,
the dollar box, and oh, hello, how are you doing? I'm good.
yeah.
And I just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but, but
yeah.
Britt he would stay and talk to the creators, and a lot of times he would start, you know, getting their books religiously, and it's
Yeah,
because he met them.
that's
Um,
good. Yeah.
whereas next thing you know, when if they keep going, I'll find out about them years later. Oh, where were these guys? I never heard of them. They were right there.
And I totally respect that. Some people are going to people go to shows for all different reasons, and some people it's just like I'm there for Daredevil, and it's all, it's all good. Enough people are interested in at least hearing me out that it is fun. I mean, I think I said I went to one. Whew, I went. Did I sell 4 books or 6 books? It might have been like 4 books. It was still pretty fun. I mean, people would hear me out and kind of laugh at the premise, and um it's all sort of learning. And it's interesting. Like, why did I sell 20 something copies at a like little street mini Comic-Con street slash art festival in Eugene, Oregon, and why did I sell 4 at a comic book swap meet in a mall in Portland? Who knows? It's like you said, the crowd. It's just the luck of the draw. My next thing is I'm going to an actual. I told you I did an indie wrestling show where I got to meet, like I said, I got to meet the Grappler, one of the kids, local wrestlers I used to watch as a kid and be scared of.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
fun. Do you want to hear the story from the Grappler? Do we have time for the our
Oh
Grappler?
yeah, I
Yes.
want to hear the story.
So I've set up my table. My youngest boy, Michael's with me. He's 20, and we're gonna be at this indie show. It's gonna be fun. Roddy Piper's daughter is like the main one part of the main event. And then there's this older guy, tabling next to me, and he's selling his merch and his autographs. And I'm like, I knew he was going to be there. I'm like, oh, you're the Grappler. He's like, yeah. His name happened to also be Ed. And I was like, oh man, I watched you when I was a kid. I loved you. He was a masked wrestler. So, but
That's
yeah,
kind.
yeah, he was a heel. He was a masked wrestler. So I'm talking to him when I can in between, people, and customers, and he had these Roddy Piper stories, and he said, one time Roddy Piper gets on TV, Portland Wrestling. He tells everyone on TV he'll pay $1,000 bounty for anyone who can get pictures of the Grappler without his mask on. And he's like, God, I had goddamn people try to run me off the road. I had people chasing me down the street. Told Piper, I'm like, you better give somebody this money on TV and tell everybody the bounty's been claimed. I can't take my kids to school.
Oh,
You're laughing about it now, And he told another story. I guess apparently Roddy Piper had a auto body shop called Piper's Pit Stop, Roddy Piper lived in the Portland area, and Ed, the grappler, claims that he was able to get out of Vince McMahon. He was able to get like 30 seconds of TV time, national TV time, to do a commercial for Piper's Pit Stop. So the grappler claimed that Piper in this commercial, national commercial, I don't know why you do a national commercial if you have one auto body shop in Portland, or
Because you
area,
can.
but he tells everyone that if they body slam the grappler, their transmission rebuild or whatever's free. And so the grappler, he's this guy Ed. He's like, I had somebody try to do it. I had this guy try to go after me and try and get his transmission repair for free.
Oh my
It,
God.
it was
it
pretty fun.
successful?
I wasn't able to get the end of that story. But it was really fun being at a show. It was really fun being around wrestling fans. I think I sold like 11 books, but yeah, the enthusiasm for it was really cool. And the next thing I'm gonna do is at the end of the month is do this. It's a mini wrestling convention where it's just like signings but it's maybe a bigger deal. More people will show up, so it'll be interesting to see how many people respond to the book. But it has been fun. It's more fun it's fun to sell more books than four, but it has been a lot of learning experience, and I wish I had more time to spend, on our social media and stuff to support what I'm doing in the live space. But the live space is fun. It really is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always more fun, like, and I'm the guy who doesn't go to the comic book shop. It's
Yeah,
always fun to sit in the comic book shop and get into a conversation,
Yeah.
start talking about books. It's
yeah,
the same at conventions. Conventions are boring if you don't start like chatting with other people that are around. And
yeah.
to me, I have to go down the artist alley. I have to at a convention go
Yeah.
and check out what's out there. Who's there. They got their own books and stuff. You know, that's one of the biggest things for me when I go to a convention.
Yeah.
I've been
Uh,
one in like 7 years.
I think since we last talked, I was at Rose City Comic Con, which is Portland's big
Yeah,
comic,
that's a big one.
and I was fortunate in that I have a good friend named Ron. I'll throw out another name, but Other Worlds Comics and Games in Portland, Southwest Portland. It was owned by a really cool guy named Ron, and we've become friends over the years. So he gave me one of his passes. It was like a retail. They had sort of a retailers only little summit, and he gave me a pass so I could go to it. And it was really cool. It was a lot of inside baseball for comic book shops, but they had a private signing because you guys have probably seen this. They rebooted Batman, and
Yeah.
they hadn't done it in a while. I guess like 10 years or something. But Matt Fraction, Portland-based writer, was writing this new Batman. So they had a private signing, and Matt Fraction was there, and along with some of the different cover artists. And I actually got two of these, but I got this. I know people can't see it if they're listening, but I got a number one issue, a variant. I got a variant cover. Actually, I got two of these variant covers of Batman number one. These sort of exclusive variant covers signed by Fraction and the artist. And then I've never done this before, but there was a guy there from like CGC, and he's like, "Well, if you hand it over to me immediately, there'll be no question as to the chain of custody. They'll be automatically verified because I have witnessed the signing with my own eyes." So I was like,
Oh
"All
yeah.
right, fine." I got each of my boys. I got a slabbed and graded, autographed Batman number one exclusive cover, and it was their favorite Christmas. I held on to it until like Christmas, and it was their favorite.
Oh yeah.
For both of them, it was their Christmas gift, and but it was really cool. And there's a couple comic book stores that were exhibiting, and I was able to convince them to take Wrestletopia back to their shops. It was Hills of Comics in Seattle and Mike's Cavalcade of Comics and Collectibles. Has the longest freaking name to try to fit on my website in Corvallis, Oregon. Both sweethearts, both super nice guys. So if you're listening, if you're an indie guy, maybe going to the con, everyone's in a good mood. Maybe it's a good way to sell your book to a retailer that's tabling. Yeah, but I'm the same way too. If I'm just going to the con, I like Artist Alley, and then to me, it's got to be something I'm interested in. But if I'm at all interested in it, and I'm like, oh, the creator's here, I can buy it directly from them to support them. But I can also get autographs are really fun. You can get a little autograph from whoever it is, the artist or the writer or whatever it is, and it's kind of a thrill to do that and try something new like that. But I totally get like you were saying, some people are just where's Plastic Man? And
Yeah, that's me.
yeah,
We've had guests on the show that have talked about. We had one guy. He was contacting comic stores. He had a list of them.
yeah.
And somebody mentioned the store they go to and the store I go to, down in St. Pete. And he looked at his list. Oh yeah, I've got your store on there. Well, I went in one day and the comic, it was, a single issue comic, was on the shelf. And I guess that's what he was doing, because I know he's making money because he's talking about some book bought a van. And
oh, okay.
yeah, we had another guest out at Fort Lauderdale who I have never heard of, but I absolutely loved his book. Anyway, I went into my comic shop, which is down in Tampa. But when I walked in there, the guy had a card, a really nice card for the book. You're basically sending out to the retailers. And he showed it to me. I said, yeah. He said, you might get this guy on the show. I said, we've already talked to him. I bought his book. And really? And we talked about it. I said, I should have brought it in to show it to you. So I'm going to contact him and see if I can get the PDFs to read. And I was, a couple of customers are coming over and I was talking about it. I said, well, I can't remember what I said, something about you guys will want to get it. And this guy in the shop was saying, well, I'll make my customers get it. But sometimes just sending, I haven't seen that book in the shop, so I don't know if maybe he didn't care for it like I did, but sometimes it's just constantly sending stuff out and getting a notice. And when I'm saying this, these aren't my techniques. These are techniques the guests have told us on the show. Yeah. And I grew up in Oklahoma. And when I go back, I always go to this one shop. And a lot of the guests we've had, I find in this shop. I don't find them anywhere else.
Huh.
So
some stores. Oh, sorry.
I was just going on. You're fine.
I've going to a lot of them in at least the Pacific Northwest and a few other places. A lot of stores are really. A lot of stores are really like, oh, you're an indie person. You came into my shop. Your book looks reasonably good. Absolutely, I like to support indie people.
Yeah,
and so they're very generous that way. Some stores are a little more hesitant, and I think it's not that they don't want to be supported, but it's like some stores, they're barely breaking even.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of people in there and a lot of books, and it's hard for them to want to shell out cash because indie books are a tougher sell. I had one around locally here, really cool shop, and the guy was just like, and I heard this basic spiel more than once. This guy was like, "Look, man, I love this. I can't get my customers to buy indie comics. I just can't. Like, I can barely get them to buy like a new Image title by like a famous person or whatever." It's like these things just sit around. And I think ours actually has an advantage in that in the such that like every comic book store has some wrestling fans, and so it's good to at least maybe catch their eye at the very least. But some stores, just won't. They might take it on consignment, but then what I heard from some of them was like, with the consignment thing, it's kind of like work on their part. They have to like keep track of did they sell it, and then they have to like figure out how to pay you, and they've got
Yeah,
a
selling on consignment is a pain because
yeah,
you have to track it, you have to know, where you bought it from,
yeah,
and I hate to say this, but some employees do not keep track of. They just sell a book. And they're
yeah,
like, oh, I
and
don't know where like 5 copies of that went, man.
yeah, and then having a UPC symbol helps because then they can track it usually, but still, it's like work on their part to figure it out, track it, figure it out, send you money, and they're already balancing a million things. So my tour was interesting. And some comic books are like they do great. And they're like, yeah, give me 5 copies. Here's some cash. you know, uh, and so it just runs the gamut.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
just like you said, comic book shops, I mean, they're so different. Even in a small town, from one place to the next, they can be wildly different.
yeah.
We have one here that people rave about. It's a big, giant comic book shop. I'm not going to say its name. Don already knows who I'm talking about. The rudest people I have
Yeah.
ever seen working in like I went in there with a purpose. Like I was looking for back issues of this book. I had wad of cash. And the girl's just kind of like, yeah, they're in the back over there. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, and then when I came up to the register, I was like, "Hey, do you guys have blah blah blah?" She's like, "Never heard of it." It's like, okay, all
There,
right,
there are definitely, I've met a lot of personalities, different personalities at these different stores.
yeah,
The guy in Green Bay, Wisconsin, who's a cool guy, and I walked in there, Powers Comics, right? I walk in there. I took my son out, Michael, out there to watch the Packers at Lambeau play the Washington Commanders. So first of all, this guy's wearing a Washington Commanders t-shirt. He owns a store in Green Bay, and he's a big Commanders fan. But he was telling me, so he was like, boom, he paid me some cash for some copies, and I just sat around talking to me at a cool store, sold mostly comic books. He wasn't much of a hybrid shop. And he told me, he's like, so I was like, it looks like you're the only comic book store around in Green Bay. It's not a huge city, but I kind of thought there'd be more than one. He's like, I've been doing great. He goes, the guy who owned the store before me was a huge a-hole.
Oh,
And over time, people just were like, F this guy. I'd rather drive to Appleton. Appleton's like, I don't know, it's like 30-minute drive south or something. It's like I'd rather, drive to Appleton. So he's like, as soon as I bought it from this guy, it was like all I needed to do was just not be a dick.
it's
Like,
amazing how that works.
yeah, wow. And so everyone in Green Bay, Wisconsin has one place to go, but they like it because it's a cool place and the staff are friendly.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
yeah,
sometimes here, when I moved here on my side of the bay, there was one comic store, and all they had was basically the superhero titles you could find at the convenience store. They didn't have all the extra stuff. Now, in Oklahoma, Texas, California, anytime you went to comic store, there was always a big variety, which is what made it nice. Here, it was just basically the big two publishers. But
Yeah.
you drive over the bay to Tampa, and you could find several stores, and they had a big mix, and a long way to drive. But it has never changed. My side of the bay has never had a store that I don't know would take a chance. Well, one of the stores I go to in Tampa opened a location here, and they ended up after a couple of years they closed it and moved on. They said people will spend a lot of money on an e-bike, but they won't buy comic books. Well,
Yeah.
there's not many people like me on this side, I guess.
My heart goes out really to the comic book store owners because again, this is my friend Ron. This is Other Worlds Comics and Games in Southwest Portland. He's like he has a very healthy selection of Marvel, DC, but Dark Horse, Image, smaller publishers. Um, he's like, we would love like the perfect situation for comic book store is you have a lot of customers and they all have like a pull list. So if you so you know almost exactly exactly how many comics to buy and maybe buy a couple extra to have them on the shelf.
Yeah.
But it's so hard because, and that's why you get these discounts for these pull lists, because it's like, okay, great, Ed wants Batman. I know that I order Ed Batman every month, or Minor Arcana, as I'm reading from Jeff Lemire, and other stuff, right? And but then he's like, okay, I have to have some on the shelf, but how many? And because there's for a comic book fan, if you walk to a comic book store and there's 20 titles, you immediately um are sort of turned off, right? Like it was the same thing like way back in the day. Like you guys probably remember we had video rental stores.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone comes into the video rental store because mostly they want the newest shit, right? Lethal Weapon 2 or whatever it is. But if all you have is like the hottest titles, then people don't want to browse. Or like, there's nothing here. The store is empty. So you have to have all these like shitty movies that even people don't really rent very often. But you have to have a selection. Like you have to have for people to really feel like your store is worth browsing. You have to have stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to all these comics on your shelves and all these different publishers, but you know a lot of them don't sell, and then it's money sitting on your shelf for however long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you have sales or you have to mark things down and whatever. It's really tough. So if like every comic book fan in the world would have a pull list, is probably like the comic book store owner's dream at this point. But
Well, adding to what you're talking about, when video stores were around, we had a video store not far from our apartment when we moved here. And we'd rent movies, usually comedies. And at one point, my wife and I are massive Jackie Chan fans. And this is
oh,
back, it was hard to find his movies, in the 80s. But they had some, and we were renting them. And there was a young lady that owned the store, but she also had another store in Gulfport. It's another section of the peninsula we live on. And she was talking about in Gulfport, it's martial arts movies is what everybody's renting. That's what they're looking for. That's where they're renting. Where we lived, it was comedies. And she said what happened was she just decided to move some of the films over. That's where we found these Jackie Chan films. But I thought that was interesting. There were certain parts. And this is within 10 miles, of each other.
he scratches both itches, Jackie
Yeah.
Chan.
But well, it is. But she was talking about Gulfport. It was just constantly martial arts is what everybody's looking for. Martial arts.
Is everyone in Gulfport constantly like kung fu fighting each other in the streets? Like
No, it's a real artsy area and actually a heavy drinking area too.
Yeah, that is a heavy drinking area.
But they have art walk. It's kind of a bohemian area, A lot of wrecked boats there too. Yeah.
after the drinking. I guess it's after the drinking.
Well, they have this beach. Their beach is actually in a little bay, and it's not really part of it's the barrier island, but it's on the other side. And they have two massive, I guess, fishing boats, but they're on the beach on their side. They got beach during the storm, and I guess it's too expensive to move them. And it smells like dead fish there, and there's always these open bars there, and everybody. I'm sorry, Gulfport has really nice places, and this is a fun area to go to. They have a big
sounds great.
I guess a big.
You're doing a great job selling Gulfport.
I know people are gonna start
tourists are lining up for the Don Moore experience in Gulfport.
But they have a big gaming thing on a pier on that beach. It's a neat place, but except for the dead fish smell. But I guess you get used to it. But
So Ed, I'm curious of something.
Yeah.
When it comes to going into the comic book shops and talking to people, what shops are you finding more receptive? The chaotic holy crap, look at everything, or the like super organized, like, oh, I can find everything in here?
Um, I would say the ones that are more sort of tightly organized, right? And like you go into a shop, and it might be a hybrid shop, it might be almost all comics, but things are sort of brightly lit and well organized, and um, they're probably yeah, they're definitely indie shops where the manager or the owner's probably there. Like Wednesday's a good day to go. Wednesday's New Comic Book Day. The owner's usually there. I timed my little trip to Washington, so I was there on a Wednesday. But they could also make a decision. There are a few comic book stores where it's like a chain or something, and it's tougher to to sort of get to a decision maker. Um, Yeah, I would say that, like they're pretty well organized. When you go to these other stores where it's sort of like it looks yeah, it looks like a flea market inside.
Yeah.
They're a little because a lot of those
Real
stores,
comic stores.
yeah, but a lot of those stores don't sell new comics at all, right? They're like, we just sell vintage stuff, vintage toys, vintage comics. They don't deal with distributors hardly at all. Um, so for them to to want to sell a indie graphic novel is not really their thing.
Yeah.
So it tends to be more of those stores, though. So the other type of stores that regularly have Marvel and DC every Wednesday, they tend to be a little more organized, a little more whatever. But it does sort of run the gamut. I like I said, you just never know. One of my favorite interactions was I walked into a store that turned out to be more of a vintage shop. They really weren't selling new stuff. And then so the owner and his buddy come out from a back room. There's no one in there but me and these two. They come out of a back room just reeking of weed and giggling. And so I go through my spiel. I'm like, Invasion Planet Wrestletopia, it's a book I'm trying to get out there. What do you think? And the guy's like, look, I'm really sorry. I just, I don't sell new stuff. I just do vintage back issues and high end collectible comics. Well, his buddy is like, I'll buy one. And the owner was like, yeah, if I bought a copy, it would only be for this dude. This dude loves wrestling. The guy just gave me some cash and I gave him a book and I left. They were both giggling and laughing and everybody was happy.
There you go.
I guess if you, yeah.
So it's interesting how you answered the question that like kind of the more well lit, more organized shops have are more receptive. Every time I travel, no matter where I go, I have to find the local comic book shop.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go to the local comic book shop here, but when I travel, I have to because I want to find the local indie section. And probably the largest local slash indie section I've ever seen was in Third Eye Comics in Maryland.
Oh, okay. I've heard.
Anybody has ever been there, the shop is huge. It's gorgeous. The staff is unbelievably friendly. I mean, like right there talking to you. What can I get you? What you into? I mean, that place, Third Eye Comics in Maryland. Brilliant place. Absolutely love it.
I do bring the book with me when I travel. I brought it with Vegas and I did not have time to go to stores there. But I mentioned Green Bay and I tried Boston. There are a few places too that are like, hey man, or I had a buddy actually get into Golden Apple Comics in California, in Los Angeles, near Hollywood, in hopes that I don't know, like Jason Momoa would find it or something. I don't know, but but
Jason Momoa reads it and goes, "I got to make a movie."
yeah, this is awesome. I do have to give a shout out. So there's a comic book store. It's in Lacey, Washington, which is really close to Olympia, and I guess probably not that many people listening are like, "Oh yeah, I live right next to Olympia." But Gabby's Olympic Cards and Comics is this enormous two-story, like an enormous two-story structure with just tons of comics and everything. And they bought like 5 books for me immediately with cash. And I follow all these places on social media, and it just looks like they're killing it. You know,
Yeah.
AC Washington, and it's maybe it's like you described. They just have enormous comic book selection and other things too. And I think they're just killing it somehow in Lacey, Washington. And it's maybe just one of those suburban areas where people love their comics and their board games and their magic cards and they flock this place. But
Depending
it's
on the area, man,
yeah.
my local area now has 5 card shops.
Oh, really? In
5.
like Magic the Gathering slash
Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all that different stuff. Yeah.
and they don't sell comics necessarily.
No, no, most of them don't. No, it's
Well, yeah.
crazy.
I will say again, a lot of my knowledge comes from my buddy Ron. I mentioned, but he's like, he sells comics. He has a board game selection that's pretty good. I bought fun games from him. But Magic cards are huge for these stores. I think for him, it's like Magic and Pokemon are a big reason why he's in business and doing fairly well. I imagine that holds pretty true at a lot of places. It's just the demand for Magic the Gathering and Pokemon
Yeah,
so
it's
huge.
insane. I
It,
mean,
it it also seems to be one of the primary motivations for why they get burgled. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I can see that.
they're nice things to flip if you steal them and they cost you $0 and then you flip them on Facebook Marketplace. It's um a pretty handy thing to steal if you're a burglar. Uh, I went to more than one shop that had like a boarded in or had like a board over their glass door or glass window used to be, and I talked to them about it. They're like, yeah, it's almost always Pokemon
Damn, that's a shame.
that's getting ripped off. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, the demand is high.
Yeah. Oh, that I know.
Yeah.
I've watched the little card shop by my office expand to take over the entire end of the plaza.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too. There was a store. I hope it's still in business in Corvallis, and they bought a couple copies from me. They were called Heroes Never Die, and I think they were teetering on going out of business the last I saw. But the guy was like, I think it was Pokemon. He was like, yeah, Pokemon's great, but they're such a high demand for it that if you're a lone retailer, it can be tough to get love from the distributor, to get
Oh,
product.
oh,
And he was like, I found a distributor that if your initial order was 10 grand, if you put down an initial order of 10 grand worth of Pokemon cards, he's like, after that, you could order whatever quantity you want. Small quantity is fine. But she's like, you had to lay out 10 grand in cash in product that you got to sell. And he just couldn't float it. He just couldn't do it. It's a lot of money. And so he was kind of suffering for it, right? Like he's a low priority, whereas a comic book store, a card store, or something that has 3 locations, or just buying a lot of product is going to get higher up on the priority of the hottest products and things like that. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
10
that's a hard thing for a shop owner to decide. Do I take the leap into something I've not worked with and see if it saves my shop, or do I keep trying to push forward? I mean, that's not a decision I want to make.
oh, well, 10 grand's a lot of money, especially if you know some of it's going to be stolen. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then I had the idea, I'm like, man, what if I, if I just do bridge loans to comic book stores or to cards, is there to
Yeah,
become like a Did you become like a loan shark for?
Probably had trouble getting that money back.
Yeah.
I've never run a store, but I've seen some of them, and I don't know, they live off cash flow, and it's just,
It's a
uh,
30% interest, and you have to carry Wrestletopia.
That's right.
we talked about distribution. This has all been extremely interesting, and I can't stress to people, Wrestletopia, if you're interested, we'll have links on the blog. It's a great book. I reread it again today, and I still had the same thrill I had when I read it the first time. I take my hat off to you. One thing though, I'm kind of upset at you, Ed,
Okay.
because all I keep thinking about is bicentennial. And we were busy talking. It's extremely interesting conversation, but I said, oh, God, this is going to be in my head for the rest of my life. And then your next one, and I'm thinking, I was wanting to talk about more workflow and your process with the artist.
Yeah.
And stuff, fascinating, but I didn't want to stop this one. So again, we made a joke 4 years last time. It won't be 4 years, and
Yeah,
I got notes this time. So
obviously we gotta get you back on, talk Bicentennial and Harbinger. I mean, we have
we we've got, again, we've sold enough books that we can, I think, get a start on either one. It's just we're working on this story for Harbingers, and part of me wants to maybe like, hey, let's publish Bicentennial, and then we'll keep working on Harbingers until we break the story. So we might just see like how far we get with Harbingers. I think my buddy Matt, my writing partner, he sort of made this point where it's like Harbingers is maybe a little more easier to sort of grok, than the Bicentennial, which has this story of like a comet brings to life all these sentient animatronic, or it gives sentience to all these animatronic historical figures that then go on a killing rampage and then try to seize political power in a small town in Wisconsin. And it doesn't, it's not the most elegant sort of like elevator pitch, whereas Harbingers is maybe a little more like, hey, can we do something semi-commercial for this next one? And not that Wrestletopia is not commercial, but we'll see. I think though what I'm excited about is being able to move at least being able to sell at least some of these books of Wrestletopia. I think we have, and like I said, we have just enough money maybe to do some actual pages, which is exciting.
heck yeah.
So, it's something's going to happen for sure. just we just got to in fact we're meeting regularly on our story work. If we crack this story, we'll get something in production one way or another, and that'll be really exciting because it has been a while.
oh, you're working on it. I mean, you're doing the work. It's just you're not sitting around thinking, why is this selling? If I knew how to sell comics, I would jump in and help you. But
same. Yeah,
I just read them.
Well, I have a great way to help sell some comics.
Okay.
Where can everybody find Invasion from Planet Wrestletopia online so they can go buy a copy?
Yes, we'll have the link in the description, but it's basically if you go to suspiciousbehaviorproductions.com, I worked a lot on this beautiful website, and there's a link just right on the top of the page that says buy the book, Wrestletopia, and you can get it on our website. It's just $14 plus shipping, right? I should mention that. So it's priced to move, and we've got all kinds of stuff on there. Like you can look at images. We have a link to like a little trailer you can watch. We've made it pretty easy. So yeah, please buy a copy or two, and if you buy it on our website, it goes directly to support us, and to support our next book is what we're using. So with that money, so I really appreciate you being on the podcast because it's
no problem. It's a
Well,
treat. It's like 6 issues, right?
But the book is a complete story arc, and it collects the 6 issues we made, and it's got a little bit of like cool little bonus material, but it's the entire story arc. There's
That's
no
what I mean. So $14 for the complete
whole
thing.
thing.
That's a great price.
If somebody wants, I'll sign it, and I'll give them a silly wrestling nickname.
Well, there you go.
All right, guys, you heard it. Get your butts over there. Buy this book. Don and I love it. We love having you on, Ed. It's so much fun. But until next time, everybody,
Read
more
Comics.
You can hear our most recent 20 episodes on iTunes. If you would like to hear our older episodes, you can find them on our blog. Just go to bunchofdorks.com and click on the Cyclops.
Joe Dimension can be found on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. If you like what you hear, you can subscribe, rate, leave a review, tell a friend, or like us on Facebook. Thanks for listening.
If you would like to be part of the show, draw a fake comic book cover and we'll use it to promote our new episodes online.
If you'd like to promote your music, send us your MP3 and you can have a musical spotlight on the show. Plus, we'll add you on a link on our music page.
We have t-shirts designed available for you, so you can find them on the sidebar of the blog. Listen to the show, wear the shirt.